I've heard some of your interviews. One thing that was really interesting, one thing you said you maybe don't love about fantasy football is all the stats and the analytics and adopting all of those. You're a former football player yourself. So how do you bring in the new numbers and analyze fantasy football when you kind of want to be on this platform where you have a feel for the sport? How do you analyze with all those extra numbers?
Well, I think it's good in this aspect that, it give out some more jobs to people. It create an opportunity for somebody, because like most of it, like if you find a straight up analytics dude, because I don't use all of the DVOA, EPA,
Yeah.
air yards, DOB, DNA, all them numbers. I don't use them, but a lot of guys who never played, they use that, and that makes them able to create some content out of that, and the consumer clearly finds it useful, right? Because one, it was able to create jobs for people, and two, they using it in the NFL now. Although I think a lot of coaches now, because most of them are like middle-aged dudes,
Yeah.
that crop of coaches is probably like, nah. But you get them younger head coaches, they like, yeah. So, I definitely ain't gonna hate on it. It's just not my thing, because it's like sometimes it could get to where you use a number, a number to tell you how good a player is when you
Yeah.
can actually see it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm definitely not gonna knock the hustle, because like I said, it creates opportunities for people to do their thing, and I could still do mine and they do theirs, and that's how we do it.
Did you ever feel like when these more advanced statistics were introduced to you that you had to introduce them into your content, or were you totally okay with saying, I respect it, but I'm not going to use them to the extent that everybody else is using them?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I never was like, I don't too much. I'm not caring much about how much like if a receiver was thrown a deep pass, and he don't catch it, them numbers ain't gonna matter to me. I don't the air yards is, but it's cool though, because it lets you know that, hey, if he had a caught it, this is what he would have got. But I want the actual
Yeah.
numbers for my fantasy team. So but yeah, nah, it's always kind of been like that. I never, because if you force it, then you might not. If I was to force that from my content to people, then it wouldn't. I don't think it'd be as genuine,
Mhm.
and I don't think it would be my best self. On the flip side, there might be some analytical dudes that, well, actually, a lot of analytical dudes, they're all breaking down film nowadays, which is wild. But they might not come out as naturally
Yeah.
if they're, what I'm saying, they're like, hey, this is what this player do. The analytical dudes, I don't care if you never played it down. You could talk about football never and get paid to do it having never played it down. Anybody could learn something and present their opinion. We're all allowed to give an opinion. I will say this: if I'm talking to, which I don't get into these much, I just be doing my thing. But sometimes the arrogance of an analytical person, um, I might be in the background in the cut, but it blows my mind. Like, hey man, you see what this player could do, but they'll be like, nah, but this metric tells me,
Right.
and I'm like, oh man. And then telling us how much a player weighs will affect how they play. Now, you obviously can't have a 220-pound NFL offensive lineman. But if the difference between a running back being a good player is 197 pounds and 203 pounds as a running back, well, then to me, there's no difference. But a lot of people I work with are heavy because we got to have those guys. You need a guy who could
Yeah.
break down the analytics. You need a guy who could do the eye test and see it with the film. So I don't think you necessarily have to use both, but I think now both are welcomed and usable in this football climate. Definitely.
And on that note, do you think there's a balance, a good enough solid balance of the guys that have the eye test, the guys who have played, and the analytics across fantasy sports media?
I definitely think that now, especially in the past 3 years or so, because just, myself, trying to come up in this industry, I've seen it from afar. I see um there's analytical articles that people can't wait. They come out weekly and people can't wait to see them. And I think that's good. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So again, whoever's writing that article, they got that job and they're being able to, you know, talk about a sport that they love, just like I do. They just didn't play. I played and we love it the same, and that's cool. But I definitely think there's a solid little balance going on.